Are we ready, ladies and gentlemen? Okay. All right. Good afternoon and welcome to this online hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Ottawa. The Committee of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial tribunal appointed by City Council to make decisions on certain types of applications under the Planning Act. My name is John Blatherwick and I will be chairing this hearing today. With me are my fellow panel members, Bonnie Oak-Charon, Stan Wilder, Heather McLean, and Michael Wildman. Please take note that this video conference is being live streamed on YouTube. The video will be archived along with today's agenda on the city's website. Before we begin, we have a few items to outline for your information. While the issues surrounding development in the city are broad, our mandate is quite limited. The committee cannot consider aspects of the proposal that are not related to the required variances. Noise, pollution, property maintenance, property values, prosecution for illegal construction, personal comments regarding neighbors, agents, or applicants. Additional variances without proper public notice. If there is an identified need for an additional variance or variances, including an increase in the extent of the relief required, a recirculation of the application is required. As part of the statutory public notification requirements, each applicant was required to post a sign on the property and file a statutory declaration confirming the sign posting. We don't have that, so I'm going to have to administer the oath to all of the agents who are representing their property owners today. Regarding quorum, if this is lost during the hearing due to technical difficulties, the proceedings will be paused to allow time for the resolution of the issue. Failing the ability to reinstate quorum, hearing of the items remaining will resume at the outset of the next regularly scheduled meeting of the committee, with the date confirmation with the coordinator. In terms of the hearing process, listed on the agenda and appearing on the screen are the applications we will hear today. For the sake of efficiency, the committee may deal with the agenda items in a different order. Note that the committee members have reviewed the application materials prior to this hearing and any written submissions received in support or in opposition. In addition, the committee will hear today oral submissions from any interested parties as part of our proceedings. The committee may ask for a brief presentation by the applicant, followed by questions from the members where clarification may be needed. The public submissions portion of the hearing will then begin, and any interested parties will be invited to make their submissions to the committee. Panel members may then ask follow-up questions where added clarification may be required. When you are called upon to provide your comments, we will ask you to do the following. Start with stating your name and municipal address for the record. We may ask you to spell your name. Then begin your submission by addressing your comments to the panel members. You may ask questions, but please direct them only to the chair. Please limit your comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Any exceptions will be at the committee's discretion. Once all interested parties have had an opportunity to address the panel, the public submissions portion of the hearing will then be closed. The committee will then make an oral decision to either grant or deny the application. The committee may also choose to reserve its decision. In such case, the panel will deliberate further on the evidence presented immediately following adjournment of the public hearing. In either case, the committee will send within 10 days of its decision, and to all parties and those who have requested it, a written decision that sets out the reasons for the decision. All decisions of the committee are subject to a 20-day appeal period during which the decision can be appealed to the local planning appeal tribunal for a fee. So before we begin, are there any declarations of interest for any of us, for any of the panels today?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am declaring a conflict of interest on 2 applications for property at 10 Brigade Avenue on the panel 3 agenda today. The owner of the property is a member of a committee that I am also a member of.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. McLean. Anyone else? Okay. We have 3 sets of minutes to approve. And these are the minutes from February the 5th, 2020, February the 19th, 2020, and March the 4th, 2020. So for February 5th, 2020, all in favor of the minutes? Minutes are approved. For February the 19th, 2020, all in favor of the minutes? The minutes are approved. For the March 4th, 2020, all in favor of the minutes? Thank you. All right, the minutes have been approved. We will now go to the first item, which will be an adjournment request for item 6 on the agenda, 390 Bronson Avenue. This adjournment request has been made by the planning department and agreed to by the applicant. As the planner there, can explain why the adjournment request is in.
Yes, he is, Mr. Chair. In the process of reviewing this application, it came to our attention that the requested severance would result in a substandard lot size. I spoke to the applicant and we agreed that it was better for them if they were able to either seek to demonstrate legally established non-complying rights, or a more simple approach would be to simply seek the variances.
That would include the garage that appears to be encroaching on the property line that is yet to be created.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And you are, ma'am?
I am the agent for the owner, Jennifer Martins.
Okay. All right. Just out of curiosity, what is on at 390 Bronson Avenue? Is that a single family dwelling?
390 Bronson is a single family dwelling. It's 239 Cambridge. That's actually a triplex and has been for what I understand decades. So that is really the one in question that we're going to deal with the variances on.
And 239 is half of a dwelling?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a semi, but it's a triplex on that
Yes.
side.
Yes, that's what I understand.
Okay. Okay, so you've been in conversation with the planning department regarding the possible need for variances.
Correct. Yes.
I just raised the issue of the garage at the back as well.
Yeah. So the owner has, the owner has no personal attachment to the garage. My understanding it is very old and quite decrepit, and probably is around the same age as the house itself, and is really not being used for anything. So the owner is quite open to having it demolished.
So that could be demolished, therefore.
Correct. Yes.
Make it simpler as far as the minor variance application.
Agreed. Yes. Yeah. It's there is will be no love loss, I'm sure, when it's gone.
Yeah. Okay. Building code services, when you come before us, is requiring providing detailed site plan, spatial separation, elevations, as you know. All right. So we have an adjournment request before us, ladies and gentlemen. All in favor of the adjournment request, and I think we'll adjourn this sine die to give you time to get this processed.
Thank you. I'd appreciate that.
Okay. All in favor of an adjournment sine die in this item? Okay. The application is adjourned sine die. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is item number 1, 515 Edison Avenue. This is a minor variance to permit an increased projection, an open stairway into the rear yard. It is proposed to construct a detached dwelling on the vacant land. And I believe the agent for this application is Ms. Hill. Is she there?
Hello.
Ms. Hill, your address, please.
414 Churchill Avenue North.
Okay. I am going to have to administer the oath before we begin.
Okay. Is Stan Levine here? I can do the oath, but our intention was for him because he was the sign poster.
I don't see him.
No? Okay, carry on.
All right. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hill. All right, Ms. Hill, very briefly, the nature of your application.
Okay. So I came before you some time ago with the application for the building that you see on the right of the screen right now. The building on the left is existing and has recently been renovated. My client purchased the property with this large empty side yard and asked me to design the building on the right. The building on the right did require some variances. So the existing lot fabric, though in the original plan of subdivision, a house was intended for this lot, it wasn't zoned appropriately to receive this single family house. So we came to you with variances in order to build a house that's of the same lot width, size and height of the surrounding context. And so that variance was granted. However, at the time, the planner for the committee and we both missed a variance. So we also need a variance with respect to the steps on the house. And this really only applies to the steps on the back of the house at this point. So if I could go to the next slide. This is an image of Edison Street. The trees on the right-hand side in the foreground are on the front lawn of the subject property. And on the left-hand side, you see a row of relatively new housing that's designed with the same floor-to-floor heights and floor levels as our proposed building. The ground floors are a little bit high so that the garage can sneak underneath. And it's this same pattern of development that runs the whole side of that block.
Yeah.
And that is the pattern that we were copying. Now, in order to do that, because there's a clause in the bylaw that says that the stair cannot project, there are limitations on the projection of a stair that leads to a level in the house that is above the ground floor. And these buildings, and the one we're proposing, have a ground floor that, according to the zoning bylaw definition of ground floor, that ground floor is just a little bit too high to count. Therefore, the basement in these units counts as the ground floor. So we need a minor variance to allow a stair to exist where it wouldn't otherwise be allowed because of that calculation of ground floor. Can I have the next slide? So on the front of the house, because we were actually able to grade up to the front door appropriately, we don't need a variance with respect to the stairs up to the front door. Those stairs fit in very nicely in the landscape. They don't come very close to the property line, and therefore they don't trigger any difficulties with the bylaw. But in the back, the way the grading works, our stair off of our back deck projects just a little bit too far into the rear yard, and because that ground floor is just a little bit too high, it doesn't qualify. So when we went to get our,
it's the second floor as far as bylaws.
that's right, that's right. So when we went to get our building permit, we were surprised, and in order to get our permit and not get bogged down, we just deleted the stair, and so it was just a deck with no stair off of it, and decided that we would come back to you in a time that seemed appropriate, and ask for that stair to be put back on to the proposal. So we are able to build, we have a building permit and we can proceed with it as is, but I'm sure the people who live there would really like to have that stair. So we're not asking for, we haven't actually changed anything about what we're bringing before you from the last time we were here. It's just a glitch.
So your ground floor is actually your basement.
That's right.
How can a ground floor be a basement at the same time? Because
So,
of the bylaws written.
that's just the wording of the bylaw. That's right.
Yeah, and that bylaw provision is in there to prevent excessively long stairs.
Right, up to
Projecting the
front entrances. But you can see that our front entrance isn't actually functioning that way at all.
Yeah.
In the back as well, that bylaw can prevent people from having really high decks that look down on their neighbors with high stairs coming down off of them. But I don't think that our deck is really that high enough to really qualify in that sense either. So I think we're really meeting the intent of the bylaw here.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any questions from the members? If anyone else wishes to speak to this item? Okay. Are we all in agreement to grant the application regarding 515 Edison Avenue? All right. All right, Ms. Hill,
Thank you.
good luck with your project which is already designed.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. See you later. The next application that we will deal with is 566, 568 Edison. And I believe the agent for this is the agent for this here.
Hi, yes, I am.
How do you pronounce your last name, ma'am?
Shazade.
Jade. Okay, and your address is?
240 Michael Copeland Drive.
Okay, and I'm going to have to administer the oath to you before we begin. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
Yes, I do.
Okay. This application is a consent to subdivide the property into two separate parcels of land for future residential development. And the existing dwelling is to be demolished.
Correct.
And if you could just give us a very brief explanation of what you intend.
Oh, for sure. But before I delve into that, I just want to point out an email we sent out about the addresses. So
Yes.
the note went out as proposing the addresses 566 and 568 Edison for the two new properties that would be created. We would like to ask if the property number 568 can be changed to 570 to accommodate for two sets of semis on the properties.
Yeah, we can certainly amend the address, and I believe there's also a new owner for the property.
Yes, and we did send in new authorization forms from the new owner.
And the new owner is?
Sam Falsetto.
Okay. You're aware of the conditions that have been requested: cash in lieu of parkland, existing dwelling removed, independent services, and a grading and drainage plan.
Yes, we are aware.
Construction. The committee has discussed the joint use and maintenance agreement, and frankly, we don't feel that this condition is applicable at this time because we're just severing the property.
Right.
I mean, you could, quite frankly, you could turn around and build two singles. You wouldn't need a June.
The lots would be fully conforming to all uses permitted under the RTR zone.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And so the only comment is again, is this from Building Code Services: obtain demolition permit for existing dwelling and detached structure.
Of course.
Okay. Question: are there going to be secondary development units in any of these units?
Not that I know of.
Okay. All right. So we have before us an application for consent for what is now 566, 570 Edison Avenue. New owner, Mr. Sam Falsetto. All in favor of the consent application as amended? All right. Application's approved. Good luck with your project. Next application we'll hear is item 3 on the agenda, 406 Gladstone Avenue. I believe the agent is Miss Smith. Is she there? Ms. Smith?
Hi there.
Hi. Can you have your address, please?
1331 Clyde Avenue.
Okay, thanks very much. I'm going to have to administer the oath before we begin. Do Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much. Now, this is a minor variance application to permit an increased gross floor area, reduced rear yard setback, reduced building height, reduced landscaped area, and reduced glazing on the ground floor facade, and to permit no active entrance on the main street facade. It is proposed to convert the existing automotive parts building to a retail food store, in brackets, the Red Apron, with an ancillary office use. That's correct?
That's
All right,
correct.
if you'd like to proceed with your presentation, please.
Yes, please. Great. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Molly Smith. I'm a planner at Stantec. Thank you for seeing this application today. We do have Jennifer Hegel from the Red Apron who will be able to answer any questions about the application or business after my presentation.
Okay.
I'm here to talk about 406 Gladstone Avenue on behalf of the Red Apron, a well-known food shop. Next slide, please. To provide some context, 406 Gladstone is located in Centertown and is in the middle of the block, bound by Kent Street to the west and Bank Street to the east. Next slide, please. The area is characterized by low and mid-rise residential, commercial, and mixed-use buildings. There is an eclectic mix of uses in the area, zoned traditional Main Street. The Red Apron is looking to relocate from their current address, 564 Gladstone, to the subject site in order to expand their operations and capabilities to serve the community. Next slide, please. The Red Apron has been in business in the Centertown community for over 15 years, with 10 at the current location. The 564 Gladstone location is too small for the current operations and offers limited on-site parking. The Red Apron is a retail food store that offers grab-and-go meals for walk-in, takeout, and delivery. They value the connection between food, human health, and the wellness of the community. They chose this location down the street so that they can continue providing for their community and to maintain relationships. Next slide, please. To achieve the objectives of the traditional Main Street zone, the Red Apron and their architect have proposed a number of site improvements. The retail food store will replace the existing automobile sales parts store, a use not permitted in the traditional Main Street zone. They're proposing an adaptive reuse of the building, so no changes are proposed to the building footprint. As this is a small local business, existing doorways and windows will be utilized. Signage will be installed along the Gladstone building face. Murals will be painted on both the north and east facades. And the existing outdoor paved area will be resurfaced to include 12 parking stalls with painted lines, including an electric car charging station and one accessible stall. A small outdoor landscaped area is proposed to highlight the main entranceway, which will include plantings, pavers, bicycle parking, and outdoor seating. Waste disposal will be at the rear of the property, and we will be concealed with a 1.5 meter high fence. A fence will be added to portions of the rear, east, and front property lines with a gate along the driveway. Next slide, please. These changes will not change the building footprint, but will bring the building into conformity with the traditional Main Street zone, replace a non-permitted use with a permitted use, and improve street conditions. The changes will foster and promote street continuity, contribute positively to the area's character, and is compatible with surrounding land uses. The zoning variances are intended to enliven an existing building and an effort with even greater importance now to retain a small local business in the area. Thank you.
I'm assuming that site plan the site plan process is being undertaken right now?
No, we discussed with the city planners that we won't need to go through site plan approval.
Why not?
We are attempting to go through a minor variance to address all of the changes to the site plan because no changes are proposed for the building footprint or exterior.
So do you have some sort of a site plan you can show us which shows us where the parking is, where the garbage enclosure is, where the changes to the lot are?
Yes, it should be. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not included in my presentation. If you go down to the last slide in my presentation, though, I do have the survey up. My apologies, I didn't, the site plan's not included there, but because the building footprint is not changing, the lands on the east side of the building, that is the existing parking area, and that will be repaved to include the new parking stalls. And at the northeast edge of the building, that will be the landscaped area.
Actually, we have in our presentation package, we have.
Do you have the site plan? Wonderful.
Dated, and it's July 7th, and perhaps the coordinator can put that up because I think it came in with the
application. It should. My apologies.
So if you could walk us through each of the variances and just explain to us which are essentially resulting because of an existing condition and which are new.
Yep. So starting with the first one, the street facade, because no exterior changes are proposed for doorways or windows, the 14% glazing is existing, but we are proposing to improve the existing signage and include murals on both the north and east facades to meet the intent of what that glazing provision is searching for.
Okay.
The second variance, the active entrance, it goes kind of in hand with, thank you, that's the site plan there. The second variance for the active entrance, that's because we are not changing any of the existing doorways or windows.
Okay.
And we've included the landscaped area near the entranceway to really signify that main entrance. The third variance, that's purely because, we're looking to include the retail food store and an office use, and just existing now, we would exceed the 225 square meters.
Okay.
The fourth variance, yes, the rear yard setback, that's an existing condition with the current building footprint.
Okay.
The second last variance, that's also an existing condition with the existing building height.
Okay.
And the last variance, the minimum width of a landscaped area, that's to ensure that we have access in the parking area for loading and accessibility to the parking stalls. And it's why we're including the landscape area near the entrance.
That landscaped area would be what, in front of where your proposed parking is?
You can see it on the site plan there with the two trees. It's closest to the building. It's not on the east side of the property line, which is where the parking is going to be.
So there's no requirement for a landscape buffer along the east side of the lot?
There is. That's why we're looking for a 0.
And you're going to replace this with what instead of landscaping?
We are going to be putting up a fence.
And what kind of a fence?
I believe it's either a chain link or a wrought iron.
What about the spillover effect from parking vehicles into onto the property next door? The chain link fence and wrought iron won't do very much for headlights.
No.
Is your client considered a solid sandwich board, a solid fence sandwich board?
I'd have to confirm with them. But directly across the street is a church. There aren't residential uses directly across from the street.
Yeah, well, and in the rear of the property, are there fences?
There is a wood slated fence.
And on whose property is that?
I believe it's on the rear property, but the owner is putting up a fence on their property line at the rear where there isn't one currently.
Okay, to increase, so as to ensure that their privacy is not impacted.
Yes.
And the building immediately to the east of the subject site is a commercial establishment, I take it?
Yeah, I believe so. It's a music store on the ground floor.
Okay. And have any discussions taken place between the applicant and the owner of that property regarding a privacy fence along the east property line?
Are you able to hear me?
Oh, hi, Jennifer.
Yeah, it is. The intention is a wooden fence, not chain link or iron.
Okay,
And that's what's shown in the picture.
all right. How high?
Whatever is required.
1.5 meters.
Okay. And the garbage enclosure is going to be where?
It's at the rear of the property and it'll be screened by 1.5 meter high fence.
At the rear. Could we have the site plan back up again, possibly? Okay, so exactly where on that, where on that site plan are we looking for the
So
garbage?
you can see the 3 squares at the rear east corner of the building.
Okay,
There is a fence, 1.5 meter high fence in front of that, so you wouldn't be able to see it from Gladstone.
okay. So that'll be a full enclosure of the garbage containers?
Screening's required, so it's on one side it's enclosed.
Because there's a neighbor that's concerned regarding rats getting at the garbage. And I'm just wondering whether or not a full enclosure wouldn't be more of a deterrent to the
Would you like me to
road.
address that question about the rat?
Certainly, please do.
Yeah, so the first thing is that there is a fence along the back of the property so that the garbage would be enclosed actually on 3 sides out of 4.
All right.
There would be no view to the garbage from the back neighbor or the side neighbor.
Mhm.
The business that we run is a very clean business. We have a service come in and check for rodents on a regular basis. We have never in 15 years had a rodent problem. Part of the reason is that we actually don't put compostable waste in our garbage. We put it in enclosed buckets that a
Okay.
farmer comes and picks up and takes to their farm to feed to their pig. So our garbage consists of cans and bottles, cardboard, and then waste that is not edible.
So it's not really organics that are going out there.
There are no organics really going into our garbage or our recycle bins, only into the compost buckets, which are sealed and removed from the site by the farmer.
So they're not exactly attractive to those who go on 4
They're
feet.
not at all. They're not at all. Yeah. Yeah. They can knock, but they can't get in.
Yeah.
So we've never had an issue with rodents in or around our business. Any issues that we've had with rodents have related to neighbors, not our business.
Okay.
And in fact, residential neighbors.
All right. Okay. So that will be a solid wall fence then, therefore, along the property lines, and you're going to increase the fencing along the rear in front of the neighbors who live directly behind. You said 12 parking spaces you're going to provide?
That's correct.
How many are required?
9.
9. So you're increasing parking spaces in excess of requirements. There is on-street parking in the
There
area.
is on street. Yep.
I believe it's what, 2-hour paid in that part of Gladstone?
Yeah.
Okay. And if you could just briefly explain to the committee how these variance applications meet the 4 tests of the Planning Act.
Yeah. So the property is currently occupied by a structurally sound, accessible building, providing on-site parking in an established neighborhood. As a result, any changes to setbacks, height, glazing, and entranceway location would require significant structural changes or demolition. The variances do not result in any undue adverse impacts on the surrounding land uses, but instead will result in a positive improvement to the character of the Gladstone traditional Main Street and will contribute to the enhancement of the public realm.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? And/or comments? The only comment that we have, well, again, it's one neighbor was concerned with the those who snack at night, but apparently that problem has been solved before it even began. And building code services telling you that you have to get a building permit, obviously. Oh, I'm prepared to grant the application as provided. All in the rest of the members, all in favor of this application?
Mr. Chair, sorry to interrupt. I believe Member McLean had a suggestion with respect to the life of the building.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, Ms. McLean raised it with us at our pre-meet that we should tie these approvals to the life of the building. And I think that's what we'll do, tie it to the life of the building.
Okay.
All in favor of the application and tied to the life of the structure? All right. Your application is approved. Good luck with the project.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is item number 488 Bank Street. And I believe the agent for the applicant is Ms. Coyle. Is she there?
Hi there, sorry.
Ms. Coyle, before we begin, I have to administer the oath.
Yes.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time.
Yes.
Okay. This application is a minor variance application to permit an enclosed indoor amenity area on the roof of the building. An already approved 10-story mixed-use apartment building is under construction on this property. So if you would like to give us a brief presentation on your request, please.
Yes, hi. I am Emily Coyle, so I'm with Foten Consultants. My colleague is also on the line if there are any questions, as well as the client. So this application is for a minor variance pertaining to the building at 488 Bank Street, as you can see in the little orange square. The building is currently under construction and was subject to a zoning bylaw amendment in 2013 and ultimately a site plan approval in May 2019 following some design changes. The application approved is for a 10-story building with 113 residential units and 3 retail units along Bank Street.
Okay.
Next slide. So an existing mechanical penthouse is approved for the roof of the development with a planned rooftop outdoor terrace amenity space. Through the detailed design of the building, it was found that a portion of the penthouse would not be used by the mechanical space, so the proponent wishes to convert that space to an enclosed amenity space. Under section 64 of the zoning bylaw, the addition of an enclosed amenity space is not listed as a permitted projection, so we therefore require a minor variance. The amenity space is a total of 60 meters square. So it'll be 7 meters square for a washroom and 53 meters square for the amenity area. The repurposing of the space is part of the previously approved mechanical penthouse of the building and will have no impacts on the size, height, footprint, and massing of the approved building. Next slide. So you can see on this slide here on the elevation, approximately where that amenity space will be located. So this will add some additional amenity space for residents without any impacts on adjacent properties. So the proposal meets the 4 tests of a minor variance in the following way. First off, it meets the intent and purpose of the official plan by supporting the compact urban form of the development on the site, intensifying a site along the traditional main street. Secondly, the proposed variance to permit the enclosed amenity area will maintain the intent of the zoning bylaw by repurposing existing space within the penthouse for the proposed area. So this space will provide additional amenity area for residents and making the building attractive and enjoyable for those living in the downtown core. The provisions of the zoning bylaw with respects to height of the permitted projection above the height limit are intended to accommodate a limited number of uses on the rooftops of new buildings while mitigating visual impact. So the permitted projections of section 64 would be permitted because their impact is deemed appropriate and acceptable. The repurposing of the mechanical penthouse for the enclosed amenity space will have no impact on the character of the existing neighborhood and contributes to a desirable and appropriate development, as there will be no undue adverse impacts on neighbors since it has already been approved. The addition of the washroom will also contribute to the usability and viability of the outdoor terrace for residents. I'd also like to ask to say that Tegar is currently contemplating adding some windows to the amenity area to improve it for residents, but this may change over time. So to allow for flexibility, we would request that if the variances are approved, they not be tied to the elevation. In our opinion, the windows would be very negligible in impacts to the penthouse.
They're asking us not to tie it to the elevation.
Yes.
Because you need to put windows in, you possibly will put windows in the walls.
Yes, there's an additional slide on the presentation that would show the potential windows on them.
And what is the height of that mechanical cap?
Currently, the height of the penthouse is, pardon me, just let me pull up the plans on my end. My apologies.
Mhm.
So per the approved plans, the height of the penthouse is 4 meters.
So we could tie approval of this variance to the 4-meter height of the penthouse.
Yes.
I have a question. I think other members were curious as well. Why would you design a mechanical penthouse 60 square meters too large?
So because the building was originally applied for in 2013 and there were changes to the site plan, through refined design, they found that the penthouse itself was too large for the building approved in 2019. We also need the 2 staircases due to code, so that existing hallway will remain.
Where's that hallway?
So you can see on the site plan, I don't know if we're able to pull that back up. On the site plan, there's a hallway linking the stairs. You can see on the east, so there's the 2 sets of stairs with a hallway linking both of those, as well as the elevator. And then there's a large space right to the left of the shading area that is mechanical.
So those hallways are building code requirements, I'm assuming.
Yes. Yes.
Any questions from the other members of the panel on this? All right, so this is there are no conditions, obviously. I'm prepared to grant this subject to a condition that that this is the penthouse, the the space will be approved subject to the fact that the penthouse will be no higher than 4 meters above the rooftop deck on the property. That way we don't get a 2-story addition or a 5-story addition.
Yeah.
Mm. We don't need projections well beyond. We've done this before, by the way.
Sure you have.
To you guys on Rideau Street. Anyway, all in favor of the application with that condition regarding the height of the mechanical penthouse? All right. Your application's approved. Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
The next application, the last application of the day to hear is 29 (31) King George Street. And I believe we have Gerald Saint Jean is the applicant, is the agent for the applicant. Is he there? Yeah, there he is.
Mr. Chair, I believe we may have a statutory declaration for this application.
Do we? It's okay, because on my sheet it says a sworn oath is necessary.
I think there was a late correction to that.
Okay, so we have the stat deck, that's fine. Not a problem. Don't have to do that. All right, this application is a consent to subdivide the property into 2 separate parcels of land. Proposed that each new lot will contain 1/2 of the semi-detached dwelling currently under construction. Does the applicant's agent have anything to add to this, to what we have before us? I can't hear you, sir. We have no volume. Still can't hear you, sir.
Oh,
Okay, now I can hear you.
okay.
Your address, please. Name and address.
5 Beauchamp Avenue.
Okay. And I'm just asking if you have anything to add to this request.
No, no, I don't.
Okay. You're aware of the conditions, cash in lieu of parkland, existing dwelling removed, independent services, grading and drainage, a joint use and maintenance agreement, and the accessory building demolished. You're aware of those?
I am.
And
I am aware.
building code services requesting that you confirm that there's a 1-hour fire separation and that also confirmation of the demising wall.
I'm aware.
Has the existing dwelling been removed? Yes.
Yes, it has.
Okay.
Construction's underway. We're nearing completion of the new semi-detached.
Okay. All right. Any of the members have any comment regarding this application? Are we all prepared to grant the application as applied for? All in favor? All right. Thank you, sir. Your application for consent is approved.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes this hearing. The hearing is adjourned. Thank you, ladies.